Today, I'll be replacing the window motors for both of my power windows. Now, they are both bad in the fact that they won't go down or go up, and I actually had unplugged the motor in this driver's door as it would go down and then didn't want to go back up again. So I got some bad brushes in the motor, and they're pretty easy to diagnose because you could either hit the door on a metal here, wherever it's at, or hit the motor with a hammer, and that will kind of move the armature a little bit to a spot where the brushes are good, and then the motor will work. That works for starter motors, blower motors, basically any electric motor you can do that with. So I know that this is bad, and the passenger one was kind of doing the same thing, but it never really gave me a warning. It gave me a day of warning, hit the door and it worked, and then it just quit. So we're gonna replace both of these, and hopefully it's easy. Got a number 2 Phillips screwdriver for here behind the inside door handle, and then there's one on the side which you can see is not really doing anything anymore since it's all broke. And then you will peel back this little trim cover piece, this little foam thing, and there will be another bolt back here. I can't remember if it's 9/16 or a half. And then this lock will just unscrew. Holy cow, there's a lot of threads on this thing. Now that I have these screws removed, next, there is a bunch of metal clips on the bottom. You can see mine's kind of, well, there's back of this is basically cardboard, and they break really easy. So you want to make sure you're careful when you find one. So there's one right here. I'm making sure that I get it in this little finger area of the trim tool, and then very carefully try to massage it out. There we go. And do that with all of them kind of running along here. Find the next one. There we go. Oh, free stuff's falling out. There's one. Or not. And there might not be that many left. Acting like there's one here. Right there. There also might be some screws behind this. I should check. I can't remember. Yes, I'm glad I checked. There's another bolt right back here. And so these wires don't unplug real easily. You have to unscrew them. So I'm going to try to feed this panel through the door panel when I pull it off. I was wrong on both. It's actually a 7/16. Notice how I didn't remove the little foam piece. I have a reason for that. I will show here in just a second. So I got the bolt removed. So the reason I don't pull the foam out with the bolt still in is because the space between the handle and the plastic is so thin. If you try to pull the foam out with it still there, it will tear it in half. So kind of work it out when I got lots of space at the bottom, and then kind of pull it up, because you can see I've done that in the past and started to tear it. So I managed to make it live by being real nice to it like that. There you go. Now the foam piece will just slide right off, and then this stupid thing should come out. There we go. So once you get all the bolts removed and the clips out, which I think I have, yep, there's one of those clips now. Speaking of which, bad carpet. Now the whole panel will go upwards once you get to a point where it's ready. I got something hanging up still. Oh, there's another screw I missed. And that right there is why you don't want to just pull on stuff, even if you're pretty sure. Most of the time in the car world, if it doesn't come out fairly easily, there's usually something holding it. So now, yep, goes right up. Perfect. I'm gonna need 2 hands for this. Notice how I have removed the mirror adjustment from this because it doesn't like to go through as easily. There's all my cardboard that these clips have been ripped out of over the years. Just kind of ruined now. You can see it's been wet at some point too. Alright, here is our window motor plug. Notice how the base of the clip right there is starting to break off. I'm going to show you what I do to help avoid that here in a second. Peek in the door here. You can see that bolt that I need to get at is up against the door, and there's 3 of them. Getting this out of here is proving to be worse than I thought. So I took out these 4 bolts that I put in. Originally they were rivets, This car was not a power window car. I put them in from a different car, but I got the window jammed between a little stopper deal and my trim tool, keep the window up while I try to fish out the entire motor. It's kind of this big awkward thing I'm trying to get out. I might have to just change the motor while it's in there. So after some swearing and banging things around, I finally got the mechanism out. Took off these 3 bolts, motor falls out. So I got the motor out finally. It's got 9 teeth on the gear here. That's important. There'll be 2 variations. There'll be 9 and 7. The 7 is for like the power windows and like the rear station wagon doors, things like that. Stuff that's heavier that needs to be geared down a little bit. So I got the 9-tooth gear here, and here we got the more modern looking Dorman ones. I could buy these remanufactured, but they had the wires cut, so they didn't have this plug, and I didn't really want to mess with the original wiring harness. So these new ones come with these little adapters, so you get the right one that you need without having to cut anything. So of course these are mirror images of each other, one per side. This one here matches the orientation of the driver's side, which is 742-250, and then a passenger side will be 742-251. So looking at this a little bit closer, I thought that these were all different types of plugs. Of course, use the one that you'll always use that fits the new style plug, and this will plug into the one I have factory on the car. But these 2 are actually extensions, which is kind of neat. And then this one is an adapter plug for maybe an older car, maybe a newer one. I don't actually know. Either way, I won't need that one, and I may or may not need either one of these. So before I get this new motor all plugged back in, I'm going to plug in the old one here and show you the diagnostic technique that is whacking it. To help keep these clips from breaking off, I usually take a little roll-lock disc like this and shave this clip down so that clip doesn't have to go up as far to get off of it. And if you'll see, it still catches on the end of it. It's still holding it. As you can see, it's still holding it, and the motors are pretty heavy. So we got the key turned backwards here. See if I can get that thing to stay put. I gotta hold the switch down. Watch, it'll work now. Nope. This thing is hardcore dead. I don't have door locks either. Something is. Oh, maybe this ground has something to do with it. This wire's not really big enough to run this, so I figure I'll just get 2 of them. That'll fix everything. Not sure if that'll be a good ground or not. Let's find out. Yep, power door locks work now. Okay. There we go. Pretty sure these worked with the key backwards, but I'm going to plug in the new motor and see if that one works. Notice how the new motor already has a smaller clip on it so it doesn't damage it. So that other motor, as you can see, is totally junk. Seem to have ran into a problem. My holes don't line up. Oh no, let's just measure with my little screwdriver here. I can do center to center, right about the end of my finger. Yeah, center to center. It is. Maybe if I just go to the bottom of that hole. Yeah, it is bigger. That sucks. I was able to get this motor in here, except the only downside is I can't get that 3rd bottom screw in. 2 should be fine, because this isn't necessarily holding up the window. The spring is. So 2 should be enough to hold it. Should be fine. I don't really like that, but I don't really have a choice. And getting this in here, the reason I thought it didn't fit originally is because the spring, of course, is pushing this arm all the way up, which of course leaves you not much room for tooth engagement and turning everything. So I ended up having to flip this down and clamping it in place with a pair of vice grips in order to get the window in. It was kind of a mess. So I'm going to attempt to do it again. There. That's not sketchy at all. Now being careful while I grab it in case it decides to let go, because it is a pretty strong spring. So I'm lining up this little pin and then trying to get the tooth to grab onto something. And unfortunately, I kind of had to suck the motor up into it. This pin fit is pretty tight, but don't let that bother you though, because its center pin doesn't actually spin, so it being a little tight doesn't matter. Alright, so I'm going to finish these by hand because I don't want to actually strip them out. I really wish I had that third bolt in there, especially since the housing's plastic, but it should be fine. A peek in there, I've got good teeth engagement. So now the motor should hold that spring back if I undo this vice grip, so we'll see if it fights me, which it is, which is good. This little piece right here is called a window roller. I should get a new one. They are supposed to move a little bit, but this one's pretty bad. You have to grind out this rivet, and then they make bolt-in ones to replace them. There's round ones and there's square ones, so keep that in mind before you just order some. Alright, so hopefully now the window will stay here. This little track right here is where you're going to want to put grease in, and this grease is pretty old and slimy, so maybe I'll put new grease in it now while I'm at it. Once again, I'm going to be using up some more of my white lithium grease from the 70s. Somehow is still nice and squishy. Gonna smear a bunch in there, and then get a bunch in this window track as well. Everything slide accordingly. You don't get enough lubrication on these, tends to make the window jumpy when it goes up and down. Getting a little off topic for a minute. Gonna ohm out the old motor, and so in the case of having a half ohm of resistance, that is in the motor world considered a dead short, so this motor is 100% dead. Get a bolt started here. Make sure my power wire is fed through its home first. Let's see. It looks like I'm not going to need this extension. So I'm going to go ahead and put all 4 bolts in this, because this window, the track that holds it, this main pole right up here, is loose as well. So I can work on this track onto this window roller that's over here after I get this bolted down, since it's hard to get to and the window's out of the way currently. There, it's working fine. So moving it up now to get the arm out of the way so I can put the nut in the back of this a little easier. Now this one here is the hardest one to get to, because you either have the big gear in the way or this thing in the way. There's not really any getting around it. Let's try it anyway. Yep, arm all the way down, the gear's out of the way. So I can get to it pretty easily now. Which is always kind of ironic, because you need the arm to move a lot of times on even modern cars to get to certain bolts, and a lot of times you're taking them apart because they don't move. So a lot of times you gotta break stuff to get it apart. This bottom one's a little off-centered, as in the nut's a little bit higher than the thing, and then the hole in the door. So I'm gonna try to like pry it up like this, and try to get it to start straight, which I managed to do. Good. I'm gonna try to line up the nut with the witness mark that's still there. Kind of hard to do as it wants to move and the weight of the window sitting on it. And then this one we have to adjust in accordance with how it fits in the door, or the seals. But now actually faster than it was before. Sweet. So I'm going to very carefully now shut the door, make sure nothing's pinching. I'm also going to set the wire down here. I want to make sure my windows is going to sit in the track correctly, because if not, I can bust the window. There, so the window kind of self-aligns this track where it wants to be when it's up. So now I'm going to lock it down. And hopefully now it should be a little happier with itself. Kind of leans forward a little bit when it jumps down, which I don't like. It might just have to be how it is. That actually looks pretty good. It's hard to be too picky with these old cars. I think the front dropping down is just how it has to be. There's only one track guiding the entire window right there, plus that roller's holding it up. And since the roller's so loose, it might be messing with it. All right, driver's side's done. Now it's time to finally put this door panel back together. Remember to not put these screws too tight because plastic has seen better days. They'll usually break like it has already up here if you put them too tight. Just enough to kind of hold them in place. I usually grab the pinch weld up here to shut the doors on these things. So I'm going to put the handle back on and then clean up the window with Windex to get all my greasy little fingerprints off of it. And this side is done. And then the other side will be just a mirror image of this one. I'm going to see if I can get this side to do it. Got the key turned back here, window down. I can actually hear something trying to move. Up and down actually, so this is usually better if you could hold the switch at the same time, but since trying to hold a camera, do everything at the same time, it's not really going to work. Give the motor a few taps. This one might just be good and dead too. Maybe I can pinch the button with my knee or something. Nope. Well, either way, I tried. So on this side, I've taken off that big track first, slid it out of the window roller, and then that way I was able to set the window on this big kind of C-channel thing that's welded to the outside of the door. I guess it's not actually on the outside of the door, but it's close. So that way the window can't fall, it's not going anywhere, it's sitting back there, it's tilted towards me a little bit. That way I can safely work on this and not get my fingers cut, because this little corner piece right there is pretty dang sharp. And then I can clean this out a little bit easier than the other side too. Now for the first time in years, I can put the windows down and not have to beat on the doors. That one's a little slower. It's okay, it works.